I'm Don Andrews with Butte News, and I'm here with...
Selina Pankovich from the M&M.
How long have you owned the M&M?
I bought it in 2017 from Ray Euland. I was an employee of his when he reopened it in 2015, and so that was where I fell in love with the M&M, was working for him first.
And are you a Butte native? Or?
I am. I'm from Butte originally. I moved to Anaconda when I was 12, so I get a little bit of razzing here and there about whether or not I'm from Butte or Anaconda, but I kind of claim them both at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you have an early memory of the M&M?
That's actually quite funny because my earliest memory of the M&M is probably when I was 35 or 40 years old. I wasn't a partier. I had kids young, so I didn't have the experience that most people do. I grew up next to Clappett's Corner, and my dad was a frequenter there, so that is where I spent a lot of my childhood, was at that bar, when most everybody else I've met since I've been here have spent their childhoods here. Yeah.
What was kind of like your main obstacle to getting the new M&M going?
Oh, I think just the way the world has kind of ended up since COVID. That was really the biggest challenge. Finding people that would... I guess let me back up. Originally, when I purchased the building, I purchased it with the intention to rebuild and expand in here. I was not going to open the M&M in this building. And then after I got to looking at it, when I was considering buying it, I started thinking, well, this building's in good shape. You know, it needs a few things to make it work for me. As you're aware, it was a Mongolian grill, so it had a hood system, and so I really felt like it was a pretty small job in order to get it functional. I really hadn't considered the basement. The basement was about 7 feet, from floor to ceiling. So to get a walk-in cooler in there was going to be a challenge. Not getting it in, but getting the dirt out.
Yeah.
So that was probably the first biggest challenge that I encountered trying to get open, was getting the dirt removed. I just felt like I kept running into roadblock after roadblock with contractors and trying to come up with a plan to make that happen, and ultimately just did it myself. I hired some of my old coworkers, my family, and we just dug the basement out ourselves. I hired somebody from Missoula to come in and suck the dirt out. So that in itself was quite a project, and then it was just getting people to get in here and do the small things like building a bar or building a ceiling on this room behind me, and things that I just really felt like should have been fast and quick. The flooring but there were a lot of times during that process that, because of the delay and everything, that I really wanted to give up and not carry on with the project, just because it was, just getting so frustrating, especially as a woman. I felt like I was at a disadvantage with talking to contractors, or I just felt like they didn't really take me seriously, or they didn't take this job seriously because I was the one behind it, and I'm not really I don't like to argue, or I don't like confrontation, so it takes a lot to get me there, and that it ended up kind of being a bad experience for me, because I don't like to be in that position where I have to get on people and get them to do their jobs. Rebuilding now is kind of a daunting task, just because of what I had gone through just trying to remodel. I'm not saying that I don't want to. It just would have to take a way different approach to that than me running the show. So, but as far as what my plans are over there, yes, there's a lot of rumors about putting in a patio, and I'm not sure yet what the future is. I know that right now, the way business has been, I don't have enough space to do what I'm doing. So I either have to find a way to utilize more space in the basement, or I have to do something next door to get a little bit of an expansion. It's things are going well here the way they are. It just would make things way more operational if I had a little more cooler space, a little more freezer space, a little more kitchen space, and then ultimately more bar space. And not really sure I want any more dining space, but so a lot of people really would like me to put a patio over there, but a patio is only going to bring in revenue 3 months out of the year. And so that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I would like to incorporate a patio somehow, whatever the plans were, or put a patio, rebuild something in the basement, something on the main level, and then maybe a patio on the second floor is kind of what I would like to do. But as far as a timeline, I don't have one.
Yeah.
And the question I get asked the most is when, is the county going to make you do something with it? And I've never been, nobody's ever talked to me about it, so at this point I don't feel any pressure from the county. I've got it pretty well blocked off that I don't think it's a hazard, and we put the wrap around the wall out there, and that makes it a lot more aesthetically pleasing. So I think that kind of bought me a little bit more time with the county.
I think it's interesting to have that as kind of like a marker too. The old M&M, and you can still go and see where it was, and
right.
You can look down into it. You can see the bricks still. You can, get an essence for, there was a lot of stories here.
The wrap on the wall, I regret not having that done sooner, and I owe all of that. I owe so much to John Wick, but he was really the one that was behind all of that. I know it was heartbreaking for me from the time of the fire, that every time I drove by, was just in the area, watching people stop and look in there. And a lot of times a lot of people didn't know, they not from here, so they have no idea. And it always broke my heart that, they're just looking in this empty hole and they have no idea what they missed. And that was the hardest part about seeing that. So that was always on my mind to do something like that, but it just, especially once I got rolling in the business, things have just kind of skyrocketed, and I don't have time to think about all these little things, and John went ahead and facilitated it for me. So it is really nice now to see people stop, and they know what they're looking at, and they can read a little bit of the, when it happened, and see the old pictures. So that's been really cool. What took the most amount of time after the fire was the insurance. They have to come in and do their investigation, and then they come in and did that, and then took all the equipment somewhere else, and then for them to release the building, that property back to me was, I don't think the fire was in May, and I don't think I got possession of it until September.
Wow.
And then, that was a whole engineered process, how they were going to demo the two walls that were still left standing, and remove the debris without damaging anything else. And so that was, that took a lot of time as well, and it took a lot of money. Frankly, it took all of the insurance money just to demo the building, just to make that an empty hole.
Yeah.
So, I think people are under the impression that there was a bunch of insurance money left over, and there wasn't. That was, I paid for that, and some other parties came into play to help out. It was when I was doing the demolition that I started looking at this building, and Tom and I started talking about possibly purchasing this. So that would have been in October of 2021. And then I closed on the building, which is an interesting story in its own. I closed on the building just before St. Patrick's Day, was able to transfer the liquor license, into it, not just in, I guess I had the liquor license on hold, so I had to reactivate it, and then I had to move it to this location, and getting it in a state that I could sell beer on St. Patrick's Day was a little bit of I had 2 weeks really to do it, and had to go through a building inspection, a fire inspection, that just
All the
like
fun stuff.
just like you're gonna reopen or open a business, and then I did that for one day and then shut down with the intention that I would be open in June, and it took nearly 9 months from the time it took a year to get back reopened, but it took about 9 months before I really made any progress in here as far as the remodel went. So again, I went through another rush because I really wanted it. The M&M is infamous for pull tabs and Super Saturday, which is the day before the Super Bowl, and I wanted to be open on that day. I felt like that was important. It was as important as St. Patrick's Day. And so I was on track, things were moving, and then I had an accident with the TV behind me, and it crushed my fingers, and it kind of set me back a little bit, but I had a lot of help. I had a lot of mental, that just killed me. It was like, that how am I gonna? I didn't have a hand. How am I gonna do all these little things that I don't want somebody. I don't want to pay somebody to come in here and do these little things that I can do myself. And but I had some family and friends that were really instrumental in pulling together the last month and getting this functional, getting me through the inspection, and being open on Super Saturday was a really cool experience. We didn't have food at that point. We weren't quite ready for that, but it was packed in here. And that I think was like, one of your questions is what are some of my favorite memories now? I think just that day was, because it's a lot of old timers coming in. That's their routine on Super Saturday, and hearing the feedback from them. I wasn't really concerned about, the college kids or people my age. I was really concerned about what the older population, the ones who grew up with the M&M, how they would embrace the new M&M. And I really anticipated a lot of, it's just not the same, you can never, but it was completely opposite of that. People came in and they were wowed, and they were, I don't know how you did it. You recreated the feeling of the old M&M, and it was like a shocking moment to me, because I didn't feel like I really did much. There wasn't, I really didn't do a lot. I guess maybe the structure of it, having the bar on one end and the breakfast counter on the other, kind of helped facilitate that feeling that you still got to see the cooks, and the breakfast counter, that was important to me to. So, I guess in a way, I that was what I was trying to do, was recreate the M&M in a sense, but I really didn't expect that people would actually feel that. But even just people come in and say that it has the vibe of the old M&M. It's so that's a really cool success.
The food that you guys are doing now, it's a lot of old menu items and stuff like that. Like, I was so happy to see, there's still the garbage omelet, there's still gravy fries, there's still like all the food that people really remember and connect with the M&M. What are you guys? Do you have anything that's like a new item that you kind of want to highlight, or? Well,
I did just recently add corned beef hash to the menu, and that. I should have done that right. I should have done that in 2017. The way that's been, everybody loves that. So, and that was an M&M staple, and that was one of the reasons why I felt so, strongly that I had a guy that I hired to do specials, and that was one of the things I wanted him to do. And we're kind of going through a little trial phase with the specials, trying to figure out, what are we missing on here? But the real problem is my limited space. I pretty much am maxed out where I'm at right there. So there's not a lot I can add. I have to, what I end up ultimately doing is, making a different version using the same ingredients somehow, some way, which is kind of getting old for all of us. But That's really been the only option I've had. But this guy has been very creative in creating some things that he can do in the back that don't take up the space out here. And, we're testing some things with baked French toasts. And
you had some crepes on.
Yeah, and the crepes were really, they're really popular. Again, it's all that it takes space out here, and it's a little bit of a challenge for us to do it, but it was well received, and hopefully we can continue to do that.
Are there any other events that you guys are going to be doing? Any fights or anything like that you want to kind of promote? Or?
Man, I would love to do a Sean O'Malley fight every week.
Yeah.
that was a really cool experience. It was.
And he won.
And he won. I knew I saw that fight advertised a couple of months ago, and I was like, I actually called whatever the pay-per-view, the Johan Promotions at that time, and then I just completely dropped the ball. Like I said, it's been busy, so I wasn't really. I kind of forgot a few things in there, but the fight was advertised on TV 3 or 4 days, and then I was like, oh man, I gotta hurry up and get this thing rolling. So I ordered the fight and then promoted it a little bit. It was $1,100 to do that, and I charged a $10 cover fee, and I was, I wasn't looking to make any money. I was hoping to recoup some of that money. I really just wanted to feel out whether or not that was something that would work here. How would people like watching it? And I got 110 people in here. I made exactly what I needed to make to cover that fight, and it was, it was like just the coolest event I think that I've ever really put on inside. Everybody just, they really had a good time. I pulled up every chair that I had downstairs. I had exactly enough seats for everybody. It just, it was like it was meant to be. And I am personally interested in the whole fighting scene. I have a friend who has a son, Kelly Merrick, who's a fighter, and I also had sponsored Caden LaCour when he had his boxing match, and it's really fun to get involved in those events, and so that's more what I'd like to do, is just to be a part of it on that level and kind of, bring in that crowd in that way, because I've got a fighter here that I've sponsored and come and meet him after the fights. And so we do plan on doing that in October. Kelly will be fighting then. So aside from that, you have your regular events, the Christmas stroll coming up, the Super Saturday coming up. Here, I feel like we're real limited in the bar scene, just the way we're set up, and so I need somehow to attract more bar business. I want to, I don't need to. Things are, I got a really nice balance of food and alcohol, and it's enough to be profitable and invest more into the building and do the things that I want to do, but. The M&M was known to be a bar, so I don't want to miss out on that, and I don't want to deprive, the fans of what the M&M used to be, and that is one reason why I'm really motivated to do something next door, because I just feel like I need more space in order to fully be back to the M&M. There have been so many people who have played a big role in getting me open, getting me through the fire, getting me open, supporting the business, and I'm not sure that any other community, the smaller communities are they kind of take care of their own, but I really feel blessed to be in Butte and having this this unfortunate experience happen to me that has turned into a good experience. It's sad. It's very sad that we lost the M&M, and that's something that weighs heavily on me. Every time I think of it, it's hard not to, I feel responsible. I am responsible. It was my building, and I lost that for everybody, and now I just feel like it's my duty to give it back. And so that is ultimately, what I'm striving to do every day is to, what are we still missing? It'd be great to have a poker table. It'd be great to have more machines. There's a lot of things that I would still love to do here. but we just need a little more room to do it.